Yo, welcome to Simply Bitcoin Live. Is the world's largest Bitcoin exchange teaming up with the world's largest asset manager to suppress Bitcoin's price? Well, as crazy as it sounds, you're going to want to hear what we've potentially revealed about the speculation that has been circulating for the past 2 weeks, that BlackRock and Coinbase are playing paper Bitcoin games. Yesterday, we brought you the story about BNY Mellon getting the approval to custody Bitcoin. But could this story be related to the rumors about BlackRock and Coinbase? Now, again, I think there's more than just rumors here. If BlackRock and Coinbase weren't doing anything suspicious, why did they recently amend their original agreement about how they custody Bitcoin? And why did Coinbase launch a wrapped Bitcoin token only 2 weeks ago, just before these rumors were circulating? Could look normal to most people, but when we consider hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin having left Coinbase just this year, some people are speculating that this could be a move to extend their paper Bitcoin games. Because after all, we hear about all these ETF inflows, we hear about all these crazy numbers, but the Bitcoin price just continues to go sideways. Like, what's going on? Well, since Coinbase and BlackRock amended the agreement, the price of Bitcoin has skyrocketed. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. Anyways, to further explore this topic, I have my legendary co-host with me in the hot seat with me today, Optimus. Jump into it. Let's talk about some of this news, shall we? Okay, so here is the first piece of news that dropped, and this news dropped about 7 days ago, and it was BlackRock amends Coinbase custody agreement to require a 12-hour withdrawal amid debt rumors. And this all started because someone on Twitter going by the name of Tyler Durden says, 8 days since I called out the CEO of Baldbase. That's hilarious. 7 daily candles since, and not a single BlackRock ETF buy. This is because of you, the people. Now break the range and vertically teleport to 100,000. So someone asked him, so the ETFs weren't actually buying BTC this entire time? Someone fill me in here. Tyler replied, yeah, they were just not all of it likely. Some as gold, silver, and literally everything else Wall Street touches. Bitwise and Fidelity are sweet. Wallets are all available online. So that's a question that I have for you guys. If Fidelity, El Salvador, and Bitwise have made their Bitcoin wallets public, we're essentially trusting Coinbase that they're not rehypothecating Bitcoin and that they're not selling paper Bitcoin. And again, isn't it quite suspicious that they had to change the custody agreement to require a 12-hour window instead of, I think it was more than 24 hours before, ahead of these debt rumors? And by the way, as soon as they changed the agreement, guess what happened? The price of Bitcoin started pumping again. So could it be that BlackRock was selling paper Bitcoin? I don't think it was BlackRock. In fact, I think it was Coinbase that was doing this. Because after all, do you guys remember the exchange that goes down every time the price of Bitcoin, shoots to the moon? It's always Coinbase. I made a joke the other day. I tweeted this out like it was a total joke, but I'm surprised how much traction it got. I said, hey, I think Coinbase might be the circuit breaker for the Bitcoin price for the US government. And that tweet blew up. It got like 1,700 likes. So it seems like everybody is kind of thinking about this. And it also reminds me of this tweet that Brian Armstrong tweeted out a very long time ago in regards to people leaving their digital assets on Coinbase. He goes on to say, there is some noise about a disclosure we made in our 10Q today about how we hold crypto assets. TLDR, your funds are safe at Coinbase, just as they've always been. We have no risk of bankruptcy. We've heard that before a million times, by the way. However, we included a new risk factor based on the SEC requirement called SAB 121, right? So isn't that quite interesting, the way that they play with the wording and the legalese and all that stuff? We now have an example, and I'm talking about River Financial. I'm talking about Fidelity. I'm talking about Bitwise. I'm talking about El Salvador. Bitcoin is a public open ledger. Make the address public. Like, what's the problem? This whole we don't need to run on the trust me bro model anymore. We now have the don't trust verify model, and you either have the coins or you don't, and you can make those addresses public. There's no reason whatsoever, as Bitwise and Fidelity have proven, to obfuscate these addresses that supposedly has the Bitcoin. So I think it's a step in the right direction that Coinbase amended their stuff, because I think this makes the BlackRock ETF look like an inferior product. And I think BlackRock is putting a lot of faith in Coinbase to be a player with integrity. But at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, we have to keep in mind that Coinbase is the official custodian of the 8 out of 9 Bitcoin ETFs. And Coinbase is also the official custodian of a lot of these public companies that are holding Bitcoin. And they are not making these addresses public of these people that supposedly own that Bitcoin. You have to essentially trust me, bro, in Brian Armstrong. And I had a Simply Bitcoin IRL many, many months ago, like 6 months ago. And I asked both Caitlin Long and Larry Lepard if they thought that the ETFs were going to bring potential rehypothecation risk. And both of them said absolutely, because there's a lot of speculation that in the gold market, the reason that gold hasn't performed the way that a lot of people expected it to perform was because there's a lot of downward sell pressure. There's a lot of paper gold that's being sold. Now, the reason that can't happen the same with Bitcoin is because you can take custody of your Bitcoin in a very, very easy fashion. And also it's a public ledger, so you can show it for the world to see. So yeah, I hope BlackRock changes tune. I don't believe Coinbase at all. I think they definitely had something to do with the fact that the price wasn't pumping. And I don't think it's a coincidence that as soon as the amendment was changed, the price of Bitcoin pumped the way it did. And I also don't think it's a coincidence that every single time the price of Bitcoin pumps, Coinbase goes down. I don't think those things are coincidences, in my opinion. So anyways, there's no way to know this. The only way that you can protect yourself from all of this is by stop trusting other people with your money and take self-custody of your coins, especially now that we have the technology and the tools to do so. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on this, man? Because this has been a hot button issue for the last 2 weeks. A lot of speculation, a lot of people covering this topic. I got to take a little bit of credit. I know you're going to take a little bit of credit. I'm going to give a little bit of credit to Bitcoin Twitter. That account, Tyler Durden, we put enough pressure on Coinbase, specifically on BlackRock too, for BlackRock to be like, yo, Coinbase, you guys are making us look bad. What the fuck? And then after they amended it, the price pumped. Like, what's going on, man, there, man? Like, what's going on? Something's going on. I'm just saying. Anyways, what's your take, Opti?
Well, my initial thoughts are I don't think BlackRock is that dumb to actually start playing rehypothecation games right now. I think they're incentivized to have that ETF product do very, very well. Though I am not above what I always call the billionaire FUD playbook in regards to Bitcoin, where they kind of FUD Bitcoin so they can stack their bags. And then once they got their bags packed, they're fully endorsing Bitcoin. So again, I'm not above this. Though I have been kind of following what Checkmatey and Sonny from Time Chain Index have been saying recently. And apparently, according to what they're seeing on the time chain with their on-chain analytics, they are beating the drum that all of that Bitcoin is actually being bought by ETFs. Though it is very interesting that BlackRock kind of, put their pressure on Coinbase to amend the custodial agreement, and then we do see a price start to run. I'm still kind of more on the camp that this is just the cycle theory playing out, not necessarily Coinbase doing anything in particular, but I am not against Coinbase doing that. Like, I don't trust Coinbase. I've been saying the delete Coinbase hashtag for a long time. no one should be using Coinbase as far as I'm concerned. Even though Coinbase does have the biggest market share, they're basically the biggest exchange in the world right now. They have all of the mind share for most people. When most people think of Bitcoin, they think of going to Coinbase, which I think a lot of us Bitcoiners are doing our best to try to change that. And, Brian Armstrong, for a long time, for basically as long as I've been in Bitcoin, has essentially been acting like an enemy towards Bitcoin, which is really dumb considering that his business model is built on top of Bitcoin, but they've made a lot of mistakes. And so I do find it very interesting that BlackRock did pressure Coinbase because they're probably seeing what we're seeing. And again, giving them the benefit of the doubt, which I know you're going to throw tomatoes because it's BlackRock and Wall Street's going to play Wall Street games.
Go ahead.
Yeah, not you necessarily, but people in the chat, like, we shouldn't be trusting BlackRock, which is why we want to see these addresses and see that they actually hold that Bitcoin. But again, I think the weak link in the chain is Coinbase. And so the fact that they're getting pressure from BlackRock to ensure that they're receiving this Bitcoin that they are, trying to buy, I think this is all healthy and good for the whole industry at large. And of course, we would love to see these on-chain addresses and see that they actually have all of that Bitcoin. But hey,
they should. There's no excuse. Yeah, there's no excuse at this point. If Fidelity, Bitwise, El Salvador are doing it, show, like, the proof is in the pudding. You can make those addresses public and you could show a proof of reserves. River Financial just released a whole thing about how they're showing proof of reserves. You don't have to trust them. They will show that they actually have the Bitcoin that they say they do, right? So we have the technology. There's absolutely no excuse. Now, I'll tell you something about Twitter, guys. Usually when you tweet something, the reason that it goes somewhat viral, the reason it gets so much attention is because you struck a chord, right? And I said this on September 26th. I said, is it just me, or does it feel like Coinbase is the Bitcoin price circuit breaker for the US government? 1,700 people like that tweet. So I'm telling you, Opti, I don't know for sure. We don't know for sure, but there's a lot of coincidences here. Coincidence number one, they amended the agreement between BlackRock and Coinbase. The Bitcoin price pumped. Coincidence number two, every single time the Bitcoin price pumps, Coinbase goes down. That's a lot of coincidences. Coincidence number three, Coinbase announced 2 weeks ago that they were going to release wrapped Bitcoin. Like, all of this was happening. So I just got to say, like, that's a lot of coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. So I think Larry Finks got to get his act together and
Well, I think Brian Armstrong needs to get his act together. But let's
that's true.
Yeah, I think that's a clarification here. Someone asked, what Wall Street games are you referring to? Elaborate. We're talking about rehypothecation. You've been saying in the chat, everyone knows this. When the gold ETF was launched, they issued a lot of paper Bitcoin. That's how they can suppress the gold price. We've seen this play out constantly throughout the traditional commodities markets. And I think we are seeing this play out in Bitcoin. They're going to obviously try to do this. But again, the little red herring in that problem is that Bitcoin is designed to take it into custody. So at a certain point, I think their bluff is going to be called and we're going to see a lot of fireworks. But obviously, I think it's just still a little early. This is my whole thing. I think it's still a little early in the game for this to happen. If they really want to pull the mega rug pull, then they want this product to do really good, and then eventually they rug pull and they rehypothecate. So I think it's just still a little early in the game, but there is a lot of coincidences, and the weak link here is Coinbase. None of us trust Coinbase. If you've been in Bitcoin long enough, you shouldn't be using Coinbase. You don't trust Coinbase. Yes, this might be your first touch point to Bitcoin is through Coinbase, but anyone in the know is basically like, do not use Coinbase. They've been bad actors for a long time. This is why we constantly push Bitcoin-only exchanges. This is why we love Bitcoin Wells, because they never hold your Bitcoin, and they're real Bitcoiners. They don't pump shit coins, and Coinbase historically for the last 7-8 years is just a shitcoin casino in all of its glory, and they're playing all those shitcoin games. And this is why we don't trust Coinbase. This is why we say #delete Coinbase.
100%, 100%. Rehypothecation, ladies and gentlemen. That is essentially when a platform and exchange is selling Bitcoin they don't have. So they sell paper Bitcoin on the exchange UI. You'll see that you're buying Bitcoin. But
Cough,
if
FTX.
everyone were to withdraw at the same time, they wouldn't have enough Bitcoin to honor those withdrawals. So that's the danger of rehypothecation. That was possible with gold because of its physical characteristics. With Bitcoin, there's no excuse. Right? It's an open ledger. Anyone could see that an address has a certain amount of Bitcoin, and you could also take self-custody of that Bitcoin in a very effective and efficient and cheap manner. Anyways,
Yeah, hey, wait, Nico, and
yeah.
let's not forget the whole FTX debacle that we're barely getting out of. That's exactly what they did.
FTX, Mount Gox, right? Like it's happened time and time again. Guys, don't trust a third party with your money when you could trust yourself. Anyways, we got a question in the chat. Best alternative off-ramp. Well, I'm going to tell you about our lead sponsor, bitcoinwell.com. Bitcoinwell.com is the best place to buy your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. Enable your independence with the fastest and safest way to buy Bitcoin in Canada and the USA. To get started, you put in your email address, takes about 2 to 5 minutes. You get verified, bada bing, bada boom. You're ready to buy Bitcoin on BitcoinWell. BitcoinWell is different because it's an automatic self-custody Bitcoin on-ramp. What does that mean? That means when you buy Bitcoin on BitcoinWell, as soon as the fiat funds clear, it goes straight to your self-custody Bitcoin wallet address. They don't allow you to leave funds on the exchange. So there's no rehypothecation. There's no custody risk because they don't allow you to leave your Bitcoin on the exchange. You have to take custody of it if you buy Bitcoin on BitcoinWell, which is why we recommend the platform. Of course, also, they have the Bitcoin Wishing Well. And to enter this contest, all you got to do is you buy Bitcoin on BitcoinWell. And when you buy Bitcoin on BitcoinWell, you earn BitcoinWell points. And you can use those points towards the Bitcoin Wishing Well contest. We're going to do one for you guys right here. Get your Lightning wallets ready. Every time you toss a coin in, you have an opportunity to win up to 1 million sats. Today, the grand prize was 500 Satoshis. If you use promo code SIMPLYBTC, again, SIMPLYBTC, to sign up to BitcoinWell.com today, you get 3 tosses into the Bitcoin Wishing Well, absolutely free. All right, everybody, let's hit the numbers. Let's start the show. Here we go. All right, guys, I also want to tell you guys about our sponsor, Stampseed. Usually when you buy a hardware wallet, it comes with a piece of paper. And that paper is where you're meant to write down your seed words. It's usually labeled 1 through 12 or 1 through 24. The problem is that paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. Your dog could eat it. We don't recommend writing down your seed words on a piece of paper. We recommend literally proof of work, stamping your seed words into a plate of titanium. And the titanium seed phrase storage kit offered by Stampseed is going to allow you to do that. It comes with the hammer. It comes with the letter stamping tools. It comes with the plate, the titanium plate. So you literally, letter by letter in the privacy of your own home, stamp your seed words into a piece of titanium, which is going to survive the test of time. It's fireproof. They dumped it in salt water. It survived that test. Your dog's probably not going to eat a piece of titanium. This is the proper way of securing your generational wealth. Head over to stampseed.com today to get started, and you can use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is $62,030. Sats per dollar, 1,612. Block height, 863,672. Realized monetary inflation, 1.33%. The market cap of Bitcoin is sitting at 1.23 trillion. Bitcoin versus gold market cap, 6.71%. Total amount of Bitcoin is 19,761,258 BTC. Percentage issued is 94.1%. In the grand scheme of things, we're just getting started. And I love this number right here, the realized monetary inflation continuing to take fiat currencies to absolute school. Even if they get it back to 2%, Bitcoin still has a better inflation rate, which, by the way, is literally destined to go down forever. This will get cut in half. 4 years from now, and then from years for there, it's going to get cut in half again, and that's why it's going up forever, Laura. Anyways, I love this tweet by Max Kaiser talking about Larry Fink, and I'm really glad that Opti corrected me in the beginning, because the ones that we should be skeptical of is
Brian Armstrong of Coinbase.
Larry Fink has actually been doing an incredible job, and I love what Max Kaiser says here. Employee of the month, Larry Fink. That's right, everybody. Anyone who holds Bitcoin and you talk about Bitcoin, especially if you're an influential figure, you have a massive following, they are working for you. The Bitcoin miners are working for you. The node runners are working for you. Simply Bitcoin is working for you. Larry Fink is working for you. Michael Saylor is working for you, because they're telling the Satoshi gospel. They're telling people about Bitcoin. They have huge followings, which of course is going to get more people to opt out of the dollar and get into Bitcoin. So let's check out this latest clip by the employee of the month, according to Max Kaiser, the CEO and chairman of BlackRock, Larry Fink. Let's check out this interview on Legacy Financial Media, CNBC. Let's check it out.
It's the first time we've had an opportunity to talk to you about it, which is Bitcoin, the Bitcoin ETF. We're going to be talking to Gary Gensler, the chair of the SEC, who made that decision reluctantly, maybe even begrudgingly, which was announced just 2 days ago, and we talked a lot about yesterday on the broadcast. How big a deal is that for BlackRock? And this was, for you, a big switch as well, because you were a naysayer for a very, very long time.
Yeah, I probably switched. For the first 3 years of thinking about it, I was a naysayer, and about 2 years ago, I switched. And I'm actually, you know, as I said in the last 2 years, I'm a big believer.
Are you a believer personally? Meaning, is the Fink family a Bitcoin buyer or a buyer of this new ETF?
Well, now I could do that. I cannot, you know, I don't want to compete with our clients, so I don't buy single assets. I'll buy mutual funds. I'll buy single ETFs. So I have an opportunity to do that now. But I'm a believer in it because I do believe it is an alternative source for wealth holding. I don't believe it's ever going to be a currency. I believe it's an asset class.
You don't believe it ever becomes a currency?
No, I think we're going to create digital currencies. We're going to use the technology for it. We're going to use the blockchain.
How important is that, though, to then the long-term value proposition
of Bitcoin?
Of Bitcoin. If it's not something that ultimately becomes a currency, if it's simply, we'll call it digital gold, it's an asset of some sort, what does that mean?
It means,
in terms of price,
I believe, you know, I believe it goes up if the world is more frightened, if people have fearful of geopolitical risk, they're fearful of their own risk. It's no different than what gold represented over thousands of years. It is a asset class that protects you.
Right.
And unlike gold, where we manufacture new gold, we're almost at the ceiling of the amount of Bitcoin.
So, I mean, again, like, he goes from, you know, being essentially a non-believer to a believer. This is Bitcoin's incentives. That interview was the first interview after the ETF got approved. And you just hear the humility in Larry Fink's voice, right? Basically saying, like, I was wrong. This is the best asset. The part where I disagree with him on, which is where he's like, I don't believe it's going to be money. Well, it's already been used as money. And again, it's not a single individual or central bank or a government that determines what money is. It's actually people on the ground choosing to transact and choosing what medium of exchange they want to use. As much as governments and central banks don't want to hear that. But that's the truth. For the vast majority of the world, even with legal tender laws. Like, a legal tender law doesn't really work when your country is suffering through double-digit inflation. People just don't listen anymore because it's a matter of being able to provide for your family. Now, he did say something else as well, and he said that Bitcoin performs when people are a little bit worried about the traditional markets. And especially with all the geopolitical events happening these days, whether it's the strike that's happening at, you know, all the docks that in the southeastern United States, or the situation that's happening in the Middle East, right? As the BlackRock report proved, I think it was a couple weeks ago or so, Bitcoin pumps despite all of those things, right? Bitcoin is the safe haven asset. To use Larry Fink's own words, Bitcoin is the flight to quality. Bitcoin is the thing that people flee to when they lose confidence in the traditional system. So, yes, I agree with Max Kaiser. Larry Fink, congratulations, Employee of the Month for Bitcoin. Hopefully, Opti, we get that one day. Simply is big enough for where we get the Employee of the Month from Max Kaiser for Bitcoin because, yeah, man, but this is crazy. This year has been historic. You had Trump, you have Saylor, of course. He's been absolutely crushing it. And of course, you have Larry Fink, dropping the hot fire. I mean, dude, we weren't exactly fans of Larry Fink a couple years ago when he was saying that Bitcoin was an index of money laundering and he was pushing the whole ESG stuff. Isn't it another coincidence? It's just a coincidence, Opti. Isn't it absolutely hilarious how they dropped the ESG stuff as soon as they started promoting the Bitcoin ETF? It's almost as if Bitcoin fixes things. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, well, first on that last point, it really does feel like the pendulum swinging away from a lot of this garbage that we see coming out from the institutions, and they're realizing that they can't be so detached from reality because reality, when we're that detached from reality, it smacks back to reality and things get even worse. And so we're seeing that once Larry Fink, or rather BlackRock, embraced Bitcoin, now the floodgates are opening up. Bitcoin is a mature asset, and people are waking up to the fact that they might need some Bitcoin in their portfolio. So I really do like the take of, Larry Fink being the Employee of the Month. Not only is it kind of hilarious, and it really flips everything on its head, because a lot of people in popular culture do have this idea that the billionaire elite class, and I don't think they're wrong, are basically siphoning off purchasing power from the population, and the whole like tax the rich stuff, and they're evil, and all they care about is profits, and they're greedy, until you get on the Bitcoin standard. And I think I've been quoting this Satoshi quote like a lot the last couple of weeks, where you're incentivized to work with the Bitcoin network, and that's how you profit. And now finally, it's the incentives are to be a better person and to not just rob and steal the coffers as we see in the fiat system. So yeah, I also technically believe that Larry Fink is the best employee we've had in a long time. It was Saylor for a little bit. Now we got Larry Fink and all of his BlackRock minions shilling Bitcoin. Next, we'll get Jamie Dimon and all of them shilling Bitcoin. And, soon enough, we'll get the politicians all on board. Maybe one day we can call Elizabeth Warren Employee of the Month as well. But it is very interesting that once the tide does start shifting, it's like a waterfall moment, a watershed moment, and people are going to start to FOMO and go all in and ape into Bitcoin. And I think we're going to start seeing that happen at the very end of this year. And remember what the point of money is. And I constantly say this, it's just basic economics, at least in Austrian economic terms. The point of money is to hedge against uncertainty. And now we have the best money in the world. And if you're looking out in the world, there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now. And people are dropping treasuries, which have historically been the risk-off asset for a long time. They're looking for alternatives. Gold's hitting all-time highs as well. So you're seeing that people are starting to go towards the quote-unquote hard money assets out there in the world, because there is a lot of uncertainty. And anyone that knows anything about the economy knows that you can't be saving in dollars, and you're constantly losing value in dollars. So smart money goes towards the assets, and the smartest money in the room is eventually and soon enough going into Bitcoin, as we're seeing this play out. And so it's really funny that all of us 80 IQ, 65 IQ plebs out here have front ran Wall Street. We front ran all of the world, and it's only a matter of time until they catch up to the game actually being played, which is Pac-Man with Bitcoin. It's Hungry Hippo with Bitcoin. Accumulation of Bitcoin is the name of the game. And now we're seeing that even BlackRock out here, Larry Fink is pressuring Brian Armstrong about actually having all this Bitcoin. So now we're all incentivized to learn about self-custody, to take custody of Bitcoin, to realize that, hey, maybe rehypothecation and fractional reserve banking isn't the way forward. And maybe that's the reason why we're in the position we're in right now. But hey, the signal is going to take a little while for everyone to wake up to this. And this is why we have such a good opportunity to be stacking Bitcoin at this moment. So you might want to get some just in case it catches on.
Yeah, you might want to get some Bitcoin just in case it catches on, or you're stuck with.
You will own nothing and be happy.
All right, everybody, let's get to news. Lots to talk about. Let's check it out. Here we go. Stay tuned.
Very special shout out to our sponsor, Compass Mining. They make Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone, from beginners to experienced investors. Their turnkey miners gets you online and hashing within 48 hours, making it easier than ever to start your mining journey. Plus, with their active marketplace, you can resell your miner at any time, adding flexibility and value to your investment. Visit their website to access a wealth of resources, learning everything you need to know about Bitcoin mining. Take your first step into the world of Bitcoin mining with confidence. Discover more at compassmining.io. Again, compassmining.io, and see how Compass Mining can power your success. I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US, and it integrates seamlessly with their free app called Envoy. Passport is fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a classic feature phone, so you'll know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. It's also air-gapped, meaning Bitcoin stays offline, never touching an internet connection. It's Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, air-gap security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes with Passport at foundation.xyz/simply. Get peace of mind for your piece of Bitcoin.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Opti is going to model for you guys the Passport by Foundation devices. Take self-custody of your Bitcoin. You're going to want a hardware wallet to do that. Of course, we recommend Passport by Foundation devices because it's completely open source. It's incredibly easy to use. This is the perfect gift you give to someone that perhaps they don't have any experience with self-custody. That's why you get them a Passport. It pairs up with the Envoy app seamlessly. It gives you all the benefits of cold storage Bitcoin, but also gives you the convenience of being able to spend that cold storage Bitcoin. Use promo code SIMPLY to get a discount. It doesn't come with Opti, but it will get you a discount. Opti is up for negotiation. Send the Simply Bitcoin handle a DM. All right, everybody. I do want to read this Nostr post. By the way, Nostr is popping. I highly suggest it. I'm not as radical as Odell. I still find a lot of signal on Twitter, but there's a lot of signal on Nostr that is happening as well. So I kind of want to set the tone of today's news block, with this message from Jeff Booth. He says, free markets are more productive because ideas compete to provide value to you. A global free market equals faster deflation, with every person in the world becoming wealthier as the productivity gains flow to them in the form of lower prices. But that comes at a direct cost to those extracting value from the world through a control system that gains its power by stealing ours. Our world and each of us in it makes perfect sense. Just a mirror reflection of two different operating systems, with the system you give your energy to reinforcing your reality. The one based on coercion, control, and scarcity, an extractive model preying on fear, while the majority make it stronger in their minds by their actions within it. Or the one based on truth, hope, abundance, a cooperative model where we see that we are all connected. Bitcoin and freedom tech. Choose wisely. 100%. And what Jeff Booth is describing is the difference between the two systems. The fiat system, which I equate to slavery, and the Bitcoin system, which I equate to freedom. And we have a choice, ladies and gentlemen. And it doesn't require an election. It requires personal responsibility on your end to opt out of their system entirely and opt into Bitcoin by taking Bitcoin into self-custody. The ads that we show on Simply Bitcoin literally are ads of companies that allow you to take self-custody of your Bitcoin, like the Stamp Seed, like the Passport Foundation Wallet, like BitcoinWell.com, automatic self-custody Bitcoin on-ramp. Like we choose our partners on purpose so that you could become a sovereign individual even while you're watching, our partners. So guys, there's no excuse. What world do you want to participate in? Do you want to participate in a world of usury, fiat, slavery, nihilism, endless wars? Or do you want to participate in a system of peace, prosperity, opportunity, and hope for all? And the choice is in your hands, because all it requires from you as an individual is to buy Bitcoin, earn Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin, and take that Bitcoin into self-custody. And that's it. We win. If enough people do it, we win. Now, let's compare and contrast with the other system, and let's kind of work in current events into this. So again, you guys know the deal. At Simply Bitcoin, we don't lean left or right in the traditional sense, liberal versus conservative. Opti's not wearing the shirt today, the one that says liberal, conservative, libertarian, and then the one that's not checked off is the Bitcoiners. We're Bitcoiners. So we are single issue voters. We support candidates that support Bitcoin. We don't support candidates that are anti-Bitcoin. That's the way that we look at the world. So I just want to preface that before we play this video, because I am going to kind of criticize what the video is saying. So let's put the political rhetoric aside and let the video down. This is President Joe Biden reacting to the hurricane. So let's check it out.
We have rivers that are still rising. The danger is still occurring for a lot of people.
And by the way, as the FEMA can tell you, they had pre-positioned an awful lot of material throughout that area, from the Bend all the way up into Tennessee. And so the idea that we weren't prepared, the question is, no one knew exactly how devastating it would be. We knew it would be significant, and we've got a lot already in place, but there's more. But here's the point. I'm going to be asking the American people to continue to help fund the needs of these people. It's not going to be one hit and it's over. It's going to take a hell of a long time. It's going to cost a hell of a lot of money. But this is the United States of America, and we've got to do it.
So I want to focus on that last part, because personally, I found that insulting. Not only do you have to pay property tax, not only do you have to pay income tax, not only do you have to pay the inflation tax, here you have the president of the United States saying, we need your help to fund the recovery of Hurricane Helen in the different states that were impacted. The problem, the reason that I'm calling bullshit to this is we sent $175 billion to Ukraine. We sent billions of dollars to fund the war in the Middle East. Like, I don't like, okay, hold on a second. So you elect a president, and that president is basically like the CEO of your country, right? Why is he sending money to other countries, and then when it comes to helping his own country, he's asking for even more money from you? That makes no sense at all whatsoever. And this is what Jeff Booth was talking about in that post. The reason that they're sending all this money overseas is because they're profiting off of it. It's not really profitable to just send billions of dollars to actually help people in these states that were impacted by the hurricane. I saw that and my jaw dropped. I was like, holy shit, like that, did he just ask me for more money? And again, some of the rhetoric that you hear is basically like, tax the rich. What was the other one? Like, everyone's got to pay their fair share. We're going to raise the unrealized gains tax to 25%. Basically, you haven't made any money on that trade and they still want to tax some of it, right? It's never happened before. And at the same time, while they're sending hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign countries he has the audacity to go on TV and basically say, hey guys, we need you to play your part and help fund the recovery of these states. Like, that's gnarly. That's pretty freaking crazy if you ask me. Now let's look at some of the data, because that could be my opinion. And, you know, like an opinion is an opinion, but let's look some of the data. And this is actually data that comes from, I believe, this comes from US government websites. So it tells you how much money has the US government spent this year. It's $6.2 trillion. Just to kind of give you an idea of how much money that is more, significantly more than the GDP of most countries around the world. The problem is this. The federal government spends money on a variety of goods, programs, and services to support the American public. Okay, so support the American public. I just heard the president basically say, no, you got to pay, help us pay for this hurricane relief and pay interest incurring from borrowing. In fiscal year 2023, the government spent $6.13 trillion, which was more than it collected in tax revenue, resulting in a deficit. So let's take a look at that. How much revenue has the US government collected? $4.3 trillion. So the US government spent a couple trillion more than it collected in tax revenue. How did it do that? It printed the difference. The thing is that printing isn't free. Printing debases the currency. And if you're in the lower and middle classes, you don't have the means to save in assets. You're living paycheck to paycheck. So the money that you're earning and the money that you're saving, if you're saving in fiat, is constantly being debased. And then you get lectured by the president, who just sent hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign countries, about you helping as an individual after inflation tax, after property tax, after income tax, to help pay for what's happening in the states that were affected by the current hurricane. This is fiat. This is what Jeff Booth is talking about. This is the system of control that he's talking about in that Nostr post. This is absolutely freaking ridiculous. And this is the problem that Bitcoin fixes. And it doesn't fix it via an election. It fixes it via enough of the population taking personal responsibility and choosing to opt out of that system entirely, that enriches the government and enriches the very, very wealthy that do have the means to save in assets, while everybody else, lower and middle classes, you get poor. And of course, nihilism comes with that. Poverty comes with that. And again, what Jeff Booth was referring to, one of the mechanisms that governments use when they start to get into a pickle, when the deficit gets too crazy, is that they get into a war, because wars distract people, right? And I'm going to show you a meme that I showed you yesterday, guys. And I'm just going to change the wording because I still think it applies. And of course, it's the famous scene from Neo waking up from the Matrix, right? He took the red pill, but we're going to change the wording a little bit. Neo takes the orange pill and wakes up to find he and the rest of humankind are being used as tax cattle by their governments. But as the Book to Sovereign Individual has said, now the tax cattle have gotten wings, and the wings was provided to them by the internet and by Bitcoin. So yeah, man, this is crazy. Separate money from state. This is nuts. We trusted them with money. We trusted the government with money, and they abused that trust to benefit themselves and to spend a ridiculous amount of money on things that aren't going to improve your life as an American. The thing is, we no longer have to trust them. We no longer have to rely on them for our financial security. We can opt out and we can say, you know what? I don't want to participate anymore, which is the piece that Jeff Booth is emphasizing. I'm going to opt out into a money that they can't debase, and is going to be very difficult for them to confiscate on a mass scale. And that money is Bitcoin. The American dream isn't dead. The American dream is thriving. It's alive. But it's only alive if you've been living on a Bitcoin standard. If you've been living on a fiat standard, the American dream is gone. It's been gone for a very, very, very long time. And I love that comment that was pulled up. That's not Neo waking up. That's Opti. I agree. I pulled Opti out of the Matrix.
Big cap.
But anyways, guys, Opti, what are your thoughts on this, bro? That Jeff Booth piece, that really packed a punch, man. That really struck a chord. How like you basically have an option here. And the Matrix, again, it's so fitting the movie, right? It's like, do you want the blue pill? Let's change the color of the pills, right? It's like, do you want the green pill? Here, let me say it back.
Do you want the green pill?
Or do you want the orange pill? Right? Like that's it. Like that's the choice that you want. Like you go and take the green pill and you get poor, you get roped into politics. You have to listen to what these, like, I don't want to be mean, but about what these geriatrics are saying on TV. You have to take them seriously, or you opt out and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Your wealth is protected from monetary debasement, and your life will get progressively cheaper over time. So I don't know, man. I think the choice is very simple for me, but maybe it's not simple for everyone. Opti.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, on that Jeff Booth comment of, can you pull it up again, Nico?
Sure. Yeah.
Just so we can rehash the first sentence, maybe the first two sentences. Oh. Free markets are more productive because more ideas compete to provide value to you. This is where we are right now. And this is what we're seeing play out. And this is like the main point that I kind of want to get across is we're seeing right now, and I've been saying this for a while, we've seen what is going on in Washington, D.C. Nico calls them the administrative state. I don't know if I can call them what I usually call them on the show. Can I say it? Nico? Are we out of the gulags enough? No. The parasite class, the unproductive class, whatever you want to say. The unproductive class. That's a nicer way of saying it.
No, but let's back it up. Let's discuss why we're saying that, right? Like, let's discuss why. Okay, so the government doesn't generate revenue. Like, it's not like me and Opti. I have to make payroll every month, right? You generate revenue if you're a business owner in the United States. You generate revenue. That's how you pay your employees. That's how you keep the lights on, right? You produce value. You make value, right? If you are a Passport, right? You make a product, you sell that product, and you generate value. The government doesn't generate value. The way that the government raises revenue is through taxation. So they take,
extract.
And you're supposed to get something in return. But we just got lectured by the president basically saying, guys, even though we are sending hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine, we can't do that for the states that are within the fucking country. We need you guys to pony up more than what you guys are already ponying up. Like, it's completely messed up. And that's why Opti uses the description that he does. And I like the nicer one, which is the unproductive class. And I agree with that, because it's like, what is it that they do? Look, government is supposed to provide law and order, is supposed to protect private property rights, and is supposed to function like this type of referee in the market so that people don't cheat and like kind of break the law. But government is not supposed to be sending hundreds of billions of dollars to fund foreign wars of which we get no benefit from. That overextension of what the original purpose of government is comes from the central bank. It comes from the government's ability to print money. And I showed you guys the data. Even with as much as they're taxing us, they can't help themselves but to spend more than they collect in tax revenue year after year. This is a yearly thing that happens. And then the deficit continues to grow, And then part of your tax-paying dollars just go to paying the interest on that debt alone. And then he has the gall to be like, yeah, we need everyone to pitch in. This is going to cost a lot of money. It's like, bro, didn't you just send $100 and something billion to Ukraine? Like, why are you asking me for this? This is crazy. Isn't this your job? Why can't you print money to pay for this? Right? Like, it's gnarly. Anyways, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
hey, we're very much against printing money. But hey, if we're gonna print money, hopefully print money for our country. that might be a better idea.
It's gnarly, bro. It's crazy.
Yeah. No, and then so like jumping off that Jeff Booth quote about how the free market will solve problems. We have a very stark contrast right now with what's going on after this hurricane in the U.S. We have, Biden saying like, you citizens need to pony up after sending billions of dollars overseas. We have this Kamala Harris photo op where she's like supposedly writing on a piece of paper, talking to, people that are helping.
The headset was unplugged.
Even plugged into the phone. And then on the flip side, what do we see? And you guys could fact check me. Maybe these numbers have changed, but we see Donald Trump apparently has donated $25 million of his own money to help people in the hurricane areas.
And Elon's going in there.
And exactly. And then Elon is going in there with Starlink so that people have, access to communicating around the world. So like, this is what we mean by the free market.
So it's like, what is the point? This is what we're trying to get to, guys. Like, what is the point? Like, okay, you're supposed to pay taxes and you get something in return. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the reason as to why you pay taxes, right? You're paying taxes and they're still telling you, you actually need to pay more now. We don't have enough. Like, so what did you do with all of it? Right? Like, it's pretty nuts, dude. It's pretty nuts. Look, guys, the government, there's a social agreement. We were essentially like, the country was duped back in 1913. They convinced people of the income tax and the central bank. They started with like 1% to 3% income tax rates. Then it moved all the way to like 90% in World War II. Now it's back down to, I think the top tax bracket's like 39% or something. But the point is that was agreed upon. But the reason that was agreed upon was that you were going to get something in return for those taxes. And the question that I have for you guys, because I don't think people would have a problem paying taxes. And when I talk about taxes, I'm talking about income tax and inflation tax. I think the problem is that people feel like they're paying taxes, but they're not getting anything in return. I think that's the fundamental problem. I don't think people would have a problem with it so much. I don't think it would be such a hot button issue. The problem comes when the government is sending hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign countries, but then they can't even take care of their own country. That's what it boils down to, right? So anyways, Opti, I don't know if you want to add something more to this Jeff Booth piece.
Just hold on. Just that we say it all the time, and you already said it, and we don't need to pull up the Jeff Booth piece again, but it is orange versus green, and we are seeing that the death cult of fiat currencies is the perpetuation of war and nihilism and pessimism. And this is why wars are continually funded. What's the Ron Paul quote? It's no coincidence that the last 100 years is the last, the century of war, is because they'll print obscene amount of money to continue to go to war. Well, this is why the opposite and the stark contrast of Bitcoin is so important to continue to highlight in the face of all this crazy stuff right now, because they can't print more Bitcoin, and they have to actively either on the one hand force you to give up that Bitcoin or incentivize you to give up that Bitcoin. And if no one agrees with going to war, then where are they going to get all this money? Where are they going to raise this money to, fund all of this stuff that no one agrees with? No one's going to give up their Bitcoin for this stuff. So you need to opt out of the fiat system. You need to save in Bitcoin. You need to take that Bitcoin into custody, because it's a very, very clear contrast going on right now. There is the Green Party, which is the party of fiat, which is the party of war and destruction. And then there's the orange party, where it's the party of cooperation, of mutual agreement on what we want to do in the world, and they can't steal your value from you. This is why we Bitcoin. This is the main point of Bitcoin. And this is why we always say that the biggest problem in the world is central bankers out there, because they are creating money out of thin air. They're making us all poorer. They're throwing money at stuff none of us agree with. And yet they're so detached from reality, and they're basically pushing us all down as little, the little guys here. And they're like, shut up, peasant, do what you do. You have no say here. And this is why we're taking our power back. And it all starts with the money, with your wealth. It's like, hey, man, we do need political power, but we also need to have some financial power here. And this is why you need to protect yourself, save in Bitcoin. And, soon enough, it might be a decade's fight, but we will minimize their power to continue to go on this way.
100%. And again, guys, this is a peaceful protest. I can't emphasize that enough. All you got to do to partake, buy Bitcoin, earn Bitcoin, mine Bitcoin, take that Bitcoin into self-custody. That's it. You're part of the revolution. If enough of us do it, we will effectuate change in a very, very, very big way. And we will separate money from state, because I don't think the state deserves to have the ability to create money for free that the rest of us have to work for. They've broken that trust. We've given them that trust. They've broken that trust to benefit themselves at the expense of everybody else. I don't forget what happened in 2008. No significant banker went to jail for what happened in 2008, where Main Street bailed out Wall Street. And that's what Bitcoin is all about. All right, everybody, let's hit the culture. Lots to talk about today. I don't even know what Opti's going to cover, so I'm excited. Let's check it out. All right, everybody, I do want to give a shout out to our sponsor, the Orange Collapse. Stack friends who stack sats. Join the 12,233 Bitcoiners that are currently on the app right now to get started. Scan the QR code on your screen or check the link in the video/podcast description. The Orange Pill app is the #1 resource for Bitcoin only events. It also has a really clever filtration system, so you'll only find fellow Bitcoiners on the app, and also has a really cool geographical feature. So if you're traveling to a new city, perhaps you've been in your city for a while, you don't know any Bitcoiners around you, you pull up the Orange Pill app, and it will literally allow you to send messages to Bitcoiners that are near you, and it'll allow you to connect with them. It's probably a good idea to build up that Bitcoiner Rolodex. I truly believe that Bitcoiners are going to be some of the most powerful, influential people over the next 5 to 10 years. To get started, like I said, scan the QR code, check the link in the video description. Also, one of the best ways to reach me, the Orange Pill app. Don't send me random Twitter DMs. Don't email me randomly. Send me a message on the Orange Pill app, and I make sure to get back to every single one of you guys every week or so. Anyways, Opti, we didn't even talk about this, bro. What's on the culture today?
Yeah, so, well, I'm going to connect a few different things. First of all, we're not going to be entering into Opti's TA class, but I do want to mention that we just had the best ever price performance in September in all of the history of Bitcoin. And it's very interesting if you do look at this chart. Every time Bitcoin pumps in September, it seems to pump in October, November, and December. We don't have, a bunch of data points here, but even though it kind of dumped today on the first day of October, I think Uptober is still in play, guys. So I think Uptober is going to be in play, but there is a good tweet here that I kind of like. The biggest problem with October is everyone tweeting about Uptober. So we'll see how this plays out. But I think what is really interesting going on right now is this whole strike going on. So I do want to play the beginning of Rustin's video yesterday, because I think he absolutely killed it. And go watch the rest of this video on our YouTube. Rustin will connect the dots for you. But I really like this beginning because it really hits on something that we talk about constantly on the show.
They're not making millions no more. They're making billions. And they're spending it fast as they make it. I want a piece of that for my men.
Biden administration officials are urging the dock workers union and the shipping industry to return to the negotiating table ahead of a looming strike.
These people today don't know what a strike is. When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down.
Those crucial hubs responsible for nearly 35% of all U.S. imports and exports.
Everything in the United States comes on a ship. they go out of business. Guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. Malls start closing down. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. They're going to be like this.
The U.S. Maritime Alliance, representing the shippers and ports, says it's committed to negotiating. The Biden administration urging both sides to negotiate fairly and quickly.
They know what they want, and if they don't, then I have to go into the street, and we have to fight for what we rightfully deserve.
If you don't t-shirt, punch out. You're officially on strike.
Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. In today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means.
Crazy times we're living in. It looks like we are in the midst of what we've been calling for a long time, the fiat apocalypse. But Marty Bent pointed out something very interesting here. And if you watch the original interview, you'll get more of a grasp of this. But Marty goes, pay attention to the framing by the Longshoreman Union. The common man knows the government is printing money and giving it to cronies. The port workers will strike until they get some of the printer proceeds. If they are successful, expect this to be replicated by others.
Damn,
well, guys,
isn't it? We literally just
hit it.
Are we in sync again, Opti?
Exactly.
We're in sync.
We just hit it. Well, guys, the strike is happening right now. It's the first day. We're going to see what's going to happen after this. We'll see how long it goes, but the TLDR is essentially the strikers, the longshoremen are striking for wage raises and to fight against automation so that they have job security. So it's happening now. We're going to see what the impact is, but it really is a lot of signal showing to this idea of there's a lot of problems going on in the fiat world, and it all stems from a very simple problem that people are noticing, that the fact that they're printing more money is making us all poorer. Yes, maybe they want to get a little piece of the pie, which Nico and I were just kind of joking about. It's like, hey, you're gonna print all this money for everyone else, why don't you at least print money for us? Like, we're all gonna go broke, but at least we get the money first. Obviously that's jokes, but it's very interesting when you realize what's going on, because, hey, like we remember in 2020 about all the supply chain nonsense going on. Well, now it looks like we have another choke point going on, and it is the longshoremen. Remember, the U.S. doesn't really create anything. We pretty much import everything, and the only thing we export is our debt, is our currency, and our culture. And so we're really going into some tumultuous fiat times, but a very interesting point that Rustin didn't put in that video that we were talking about this morning is, here, let me go back. They haven't striked since 1917. All right. So the first strike since 1917, and Rustin didn't put this in the video, so we're going to add a little more sauce. If you look at this, here's, 1917 right around here. There was a huge post-inflation bubble. And so what do you think is going to happen right now? We're probably going to see something similar, a very high inflation bubble. And you can see this is only up to 2021 or 2020. And we're already dealing with the effects of inflation. And I did pull this up just for shits and giggles, the inflation calculator, usinflationcalculator.com. We've been saying for a long time that essentially since 2020, we printed, I remember the numbers were 40%, but I'm pretty sure by now, end of 2024, it's going to be way higher than 40% of all the dollars that were created. But very simply, at least based on their numbers, in 2020, if you purchase an item for $1, in 2024, that item would be $1.22. So we've seen a cumulative inflation rate of about 21.6%, which is why we're seeing all these struggles going on, which is why we're seeing so many people freak out, which is why we're seeing, like Bitcoin Archive is saying, gold breaking new all-time highs every week. Is because people are looking for hard money assets. Not only that, the whole point of this is just to show you guys that there is a fiat apocalypse on the horizon. There's a perfect storm right now, and it all ends up with the same solution, which we talk about here constantly, is more money printing. So US, Europe, and China are cutting rates. China is in full send mode. And what do you mean by China is in full send mode? We covered this last week, basically. But China's recent economic moves, and I'm using perplexity.ai, guys. I highly recommend it as like a browser. It's really good. China's recent economic moves indicate a shift in strategy, focusing on boosting its domestic stock market and reducing reliance on the US dollar. We've been constantly covering this throughout the year of countries
10,000
moving.
sats from BTC sessions.
Hey,
Zap,
let's
zap,
go.
motherfuckers. Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
You've been seeing all year that countries are moving away from treasuries. They don't want U.S. debt, and things are getting hairy. So, and then the Dixie about to fall under 100 for the second time in 2 years. The bull run is loading. So it's all personally to me just showing that the one solution that we see on the horizon is they're going to have to continue to print money. They're going to print an obscene amount of money. If this longshoreman protest strike does last for a long time, I don't think our economy can handle this. And so, of course, what are they going to do? Not only are we getting rumors that the Fed's going to cut interest rates by 50 bits again, which means, maybe the economy isn't doing as well as everyone is saying. Our economy, and we've been covering this for a long time, but what are we? We're just two YouTubers on the internet. It just goes to show that the economy isn't as strong as they've been saying. They've been gaslighting us, telling us the economy's strong. Now we're seeing all these different issues. We're seeing a perfect storm on the horizon, which is going to ultimately culminate into more money printer. So money printer is about to go burr. And not only that, Bitcoin is headed into the bull run leg of the cycle. And I think it's gonna be a magical, explosive end of the year for Bitcoin. But on that note, it does seem like we might be getting a lot of fiat apocalypse problems playing out all at the same time. Not only that, we're going to see some crazy stuff before the elections. It's election season again. It's just like there's so much stuff happening in fiat land that if I wasn't in Bitcoin, I would probably be losing my mind. But as a Bitcoiner, you're just like, just provide value, save in Bitcoin, have, some excess cash flows that go into Bitcoin, protect myself as much as possible. Imagine if we didn't have this tool that is freedom right now. It would be a lot worse for everyone. We'd just be basically in a gilded cage. But it looks like the money printer is about to turn on, and we all know what happens when they print more money. The Bitcoin price skyrockets. So, hey, man, things are getting crazy, but it is funny, Nico, that we are in sync on the same idea of, hey, everyone is noticing that printing more money is the problem. Now, what is the solution? How do we fix this? And we would argue that it is protecting yourself in Bitcoin. But we're still going to see this play out. Like, this is crazy stuff happening right now in the U.S. and, of course, in the world at large. But the one fix here, the one solution is simply Bitcoin. You need to save in Bitcoin. That's the total theme of this show is you guys need to hold some Bitcoin, protect yourselves in something that cannot be debased, that cannot be stolen and confiscated, and something, that they can't create more of. 21 million hard cap. This is where we are right now. Once more people wake up to the scam that is the fiat system and go into Bitcoin, I think things are going to fundamentally change. But it's very interesting that, the layman out there, the blue collar workers are also seeing what we've been seeing for a long time. They've printed obscene amount of money and they made us all poor. And this is why
and they want a piece of the pie.
We want a piece of the pie. It's very simple.
Absolutely, 100%. Also, a slight correction here, Opti. Apparently, it's 1977, not 1917, in terms of the last time they
I thought I said 77. Okay, yeah, my bad.
But and also I do want to give a shout out to thanks Ben for the 10,000 sats, and we got 15,889 sats streamed at us on Nostr today, and we peaked at 69 live viewers. So shout out to our Nostr audience. Shout out to the 109 of you guys watching live on Rumble, and of course we peaked I think at like 505 on YouTube. So shout out to everybody watching us on YouTube as well, and of course X. So 1,290 of you guys watching live on X. So apparently you guys like the subject matter, and I don't want to end it on a negative note, but this is breaking news and I do want to talk about it. So apparently Iran has attacked Israel. These are missiles that are actively hitting Israel. This was a video that was posted by Elon Musk which is pretty crazy. And of course, it's also trending as well. Iran's missile attack on Israel. This is absolutely gnarly. This is nuts. This is pretty crazy stuff. Yeah, this is Bitcoin fixes this. Let's end war for good. This is nuts, dude. Holy shit.
This is crazy.
Like, wasn't this one of the wasn't this like one of the final steps like that needed to happen? Like major escalation?
I don't know, man. Yeah, so it looks like what World War III just started. What a doomer episode.
That's pretty crazy. Anyways,
and I don't mean to laugh, but man, it's crazy. This is nuts.
That's a lot of missiles, huh? God. Well, Bitcoin fixes this. Bitcoin ends wars. Let's end wars for good. This is what the peaceful revolution is all about. Yeah, let's continue to defund their system by opting out of their system entirely, and make the world a much more peaceful place. I think a lot of this war is fiat, man. It's just fiat. Like fiat fuels this, and all that money that's being sent from the U.S. government to all these different countries so that they can just fund war while their own citizens are just kind of like, dude, like what WTF, is insane. So let's end this insanity. And the way that we do that, like Jeff Booth said it best, is opting out entirely. So just opt out into Bitcoin, and in the process, you're going to defund war. Anyways, guys, this was your Simply Bitcoin episode for October 1st, 2024. I'm your host, Nico. This is my co-host, Optimus Fields. If you guys enjoyed the stream today, make sure to smash the like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you could do to help push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution forward is share this content. Share the signal. Get the message out. It's not left versus right. It's not liberal versus conservative. It's the party of green, the party of war, nihilism, destruction, usury, slavery, versus the party of orange, the party of peace, prosperity, hope, and of course, Bitcoin. Anyways, guys, love you all. Take care. And we'll see you tomorrow for another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live.
Was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.